Hello, this is Alekius, and welcome back to the Sprocket tutorials series. Today we're looking at the gun again to go over some additional things, especially with the latest patches and some of the changes that have been made to the game. Both make it easier and harder to get what we want. We're going to be looking at the gun mount again, and the cannon and the ammo. Now, the gun mount, the max depression, I believe I went over that. We can see how it intersects with the turret, and if we adjust where the mount is, we can get more max depression because the breech block can move. Or we can raise it and we'll get less because it intersects earlier. That's not too big a deal, but what about this elevation rate? 3 degrees per second, not fast enough? You're making something light and maneuverable, and you want to be able to lay the gun on a target very quickly. Well, you need to look at the cannon section. You see this blue line here? That's placing the center of gravity for the muzzle, the barrel, the breech block, all the stuff on the pivot point in the mantlet right here. The center of gravity is pretty far back, and the center of rotation is right here. That means the elevation mechanism is having to fight that angle of momentum. So if we want to improve it, we want to minimize the size of this blue line. A couple ways to do that. We lengthen the barrel. It moves the mass forward. It also makes it heavier. So there's a balance point, and if you see it, 3.85 degrees per second, 3.92, 3.93. Well, it's having the most ease right there. There is edge cases where you'll find that extending something that you're doing increases the mass so much that it makes elevation harder. But typically that won't be the case because if it's perfectly balanced, it rotates very easily, if that makes sense. We've managed to increase it to 3.92 while lengthening the barrel, which helps our dispersion, which is a good thing. Helps our muzzle velocity a little bit as well. Other things I want to look at. I mentioned in one of my previous videos, this may have changed, I haven't looked at it since then, is between 50 and 60 millimeters is a local minima. For which I mean, I'll pull out the spreadsheet again. If we have a caliber and a shell length 50 and 0.4, I'm not worrying about the base length or barrel length or any of that. We have a mass of 127 kilograms, space of 0.04 cubic meters. If I go up to 60, oh, and the penetration value, almost forgot. This has a pen of 47.9 millimeters. Let's go to 60. We go back down to 47.9. We're optimizing for a specific, it was 47.9, wasn't it? Yeah. A specific penetration value. 32, 0.33, 34.33. We have 60 caliber, 0.33 shell length, penetration value 47.7, mass of 179.04 space. So it's heavier, and the elevation rate is less. Elevation. Go back down to 50 and 0.4. We see it's 3.93. If we go lower, which I'll do a 30 and a 40, because I want to demonstrate this concept. This was our original for comparison. So we'll go to 40 millimeter. And we grab 47.9. Perfect. On the nose. 40 millimeter. 0.5. 47.9. 85 kilograms. 0.03. Elevation 5.86. Much easier to lay that gun to where it needs to go. 0.7. 0.65. 0.66. 0.67. Close enough. We do 30 millimeter. We get 0.67 size shell. 48 millimeter of penetration. 53 kilogram gun. 0.03. 9.36 degrees of elevation per second. And if we do a 70, it's going to be really short, isn't it? 25.3, 28, 29, 8 will do. I think I was looking at how it factors in with ammo stowage as well. Just for the gun, and see how much space this is taking. And 2.03. This gives us a nice chart. We can see various calibers with their shell lengths for a target penetration with a certain amount of mass. Takes up more space as it gets bigger, and the elevation gets worse. Nothing earth-shattering. And because of the length of the barrel, it's having no problem with the accuracy. Rebalancing it will help some, but only so much. Let's do 0.29. You can see we add a bunch of weight in ammo. When we just do 0.29, we get 20 kilograms. And then 4 in the breech. So, what does that look like? That's 70. Penetrates easily. That is a terrible position. This guy's out anyways. Yeah. I want to adjust the first gear from the last video. It's a little too small and it's a little bit sluggish. Oh, yeah, he's still active. Go into the underneath the lower glaciers. No trouble. And it still shoots relatively fast, but let's take this to the extreme. Let's do 120mm gun in the early days. Or even better, Try to maximize penetration. We'll need a longer gun for that though. No, we'll need a longer gun. And balance it out. Harder to lay down. Really heavy. Takes up lots of space. We could just subtract that from the crew. So let's go ahead and use a larger. Can we do 200? Now it's getting too heavy to actually elevate. There's a problem earlier on. Yeah, we can barely elevate that. But that kind of illustrates my whole point of how do we balance all of this. That's something you have to figure out as you go. Now I guarantee you most of this is like, well, look, guns the vast majority still. But we increased the weight of our tank by a ton. We still have a similar penetrative value, but we have a more destructive gun. Oh geez, that obstructs the sight. Can't see them. Ricochets. Takes a little bit to reload. Got him. Try to use the aim from here. Took care of it. Bypassed my aim point. I gotta wait for it. There we go. Let's just go to the next hill. Come on, roll it back. Uh-oh, I got stuck between two hills. If it penetrates, it is such a destructive round at this early a stage that it just destroys tanks. Even later on, it probably will. And defeat it. Didn't see the one behind. So that's a rather extreme case of doing something crazy. And of course we'd have to add space to the turret to be able to fit this properly. So what does this all mean for you? How do you balance it? How you want to balance it is something you have to figure out based on, where is it? Amount of damage you want to do. Because sure, we have a penetration value, but we also have that damage value. If we go back down to our 50 by 40, that damage value is 1/4. So there's something to be said for really small, very long shells. Do something like that, something we can still fit in our turret. Basically have a laser beam gun that elevates very quickly, doesn't do as much damage, but is that much less? The 50mm does 204, but with a 0.8 meter length shell, we have so much explosive charge in it, it's up to 147. Reload, looking at 2.32 compared to 2.09. It's really not much better given how much smaller the caliber is. But we save it all with the length. Max depression is still good, elevation is still good, still fit it. Saving all that space, we have a relatively reasonable down here. Because the elevation rate is so high, we can either save on the mechanics of it. Because sure, this is 50 kilograms right now. Takes up a little bit of space. 0.14 cubic meters. Later on, in the later scenarios, this can be a humongous weight for it all. So instead, we could actually reduce the length until we're down to a dispersion of 150 or even 200 millimeters. We haven't lost that much elevation because it's only 55 kilograms, very light. Actually increase this further. Can we get it to a full? Yes. We're still burning almost all the powder. .2, 1.5. Like honestly, 3.5 degrees is plenty for me. And we can stop it right there. Get 4 3/4 for a little laser beam cannon. There's the first target. Penetrates easily. 2 shots, which might be typical, considering it has to. That'll be like. I forgot to check what the final value was. Each shot's like 180, somewhere in that vicinity. Fires just a hair quicker. That one already gone? That one's done. All the enemy tanks have been taken out already, with the exception of the final one. So we have more penetration. Base reload is actually similar. It's a little bit faster. Damage is a little bit less, but not by much. And we've made a better cannon that still fits in our turret, even though it's a little bit unbalanced. And we're back down to 9.6 tons. And our ammo is not actually that light, because it's a the 3-foot long 30mm shell. That's extensive. Is there anything else I can go over? Feel free to ask. I'm happy to answer questions. I'm happy to do another tutorial video, and I had been asked a lot of questions about the gun's too big to elevate, to get that air, insufficient force to aim the cannon at bigger motor or move stuff. So hopefully that answers a lot of the questions that I've been getting lately. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Appreciate you staying to the end. Please leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. And I will see you all next time. Take care, everyone.